Hi Booktube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. I'm here today with my husband, Jason, from Old Blues Chapter and Verse. And we have spent this year discussing A Whole Life in 12 Movies. Sorry about the glare there. This is by Kathleen Norris and Gareth Higgins. We have not really liked the book, and I think this time we even disagree which movie they should have selected for this topic. But anyway, we made it this far, so we're gonna keep going. Only 2 more movies to go. This chapter is it's called Transforming Conflict, which if you're thinking about your whole life, I would think that this would have been an earlier chapter in the book rather than chapter 10. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the film was Wonder Woman 1984. We watched not only the film for the book, but its precursor. So we watched Wonder Woman, and then we watched Wonder Woman 1984. Jason and I are disagreeing on how to pronounce the actress's name. So anyway, let's just let it go.
We'd seen both of them before. These were rewatches.
Right, these were rewatches. We actually own Wonder Woman, and Chris Pine is in both of them. And this second one, Wonder Woman 1984, also features Kristen Wiig and Pedro Pascal. Which one of the authors gets his name wrong?
Yeah, she says Pablo Pascal.
Very unfortunate. Anyway, many of you may know him from The Last of Us, right?
Yeah, The Last of Us, and we first saw him in Game of Thrones, where he played the Dorne dude.
Oh, he's the Dorne dude.
He's the Dorne dude.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. Anyway, so Jason, do you want to talk about what Wonder Woman 1984 is about?
Yeah, I suppose. I don't like Wonder Woman 1984. I didn't like it. First time I saw it, I didn't like it when we watched it on Friday. So Wonder Woman is essentially ageless, right? She's like 5,000 years old or something. And she's, still looks young and hot. And so she's living in 1984 now, and she's sort of a genius with archaeology and and gems and languages and all this stuff. That was actually one of the things I didn't like in the film, is when we're in her apartment at one point and we see she's got some books on the shelf, and you could see the title of one of the books, and the book was only about an inch thick, right? And the book was just called Roman Art. Like, it's the kind of book that would be in a survey course. Right, rather than a book that a specialist would have on the shelf. I can't believe
you focused in on such a small detail, but anyway.
Roman art. But anyway, so there's this heist, and the FBI gets all of these artifacts, and they need help from the Smithsonian to determine where they're from and what they are. And Kristen Wiig plays a gemologist, a new on the staff gemologist with the Smithsonian. And so she's put in charge of identifying these things, and Wonder Woman, or Diana Prince, I suppose we'd say in this context, Diana Prince, it's like there's something fishy with this one thing, right? And they think that it's citrine, some kind of like faux gem or a cheap gem or something like this, but she thinks there's something to it. And lo and behold, it grants your wishes, right? So it's, anyway. And so Kristen Wiig, she wishes to be like Diana, as powerful and strong and cool as Diana. And then Pedro Pascal, who's this guy who owns all of this territory, all of this land, and these oil wells, none of which are producing oil, and he's going bankrupt, and blah 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 blah. And he finds out about the gem, or knows about the gem, and in some convoluted fashion gets his hands on it, and then he decides his wish is that he is the wish giver. He's the gemstone. And so then the gemstone just corrodes into nothingness, and he is the thing that can grant wishes, right? He's like Robin Williams and Aladdin. But
every time he grants someone a wish, like there's a price.
Yeah, there's a price to be paid, right? So you get the thing of your dreams, but you lose the thing that you've always taken for granted.
And he actually
really
it's kind of cool, like the way he like just crushes the stone as he's wishing to be the stone, like just crushes it together. I like the movie a little bit more than Jason does, but
didn't think the stone crushing was all that great.
Anyway, and so before they kind of realize, before they're 100% sure of like what the stone is, Diana wishes that this guy she had a romance with in the first film, she wishes for Steve to come back. And he does. And she has missed him so much. And would you stop looking out the window?
I'm just looking at the wind. It's very windy today. And I'm just looking at the shadows of the leaves.
That's how interested Jason is in this particular film. So she wishes for Steve to come back, and he does. And it's just the thing that makes, I think, both films, like, brings a certain amount of levity to both films is that, the first film, like, she's like never seen a man until she sees him, and
she's never been in the modern world.
She's only lived with the Amazons, right? Like, and so she has all these questions and things she doesn't understand, like how can you possibly fight in clothing like this, that sort of stuff. And then in this film, like, he's just like, oh, like parachute pants.
Does everybody parachute now?
And like all of these, like, he's trying to find something to wear, and she keeps telling him like, we can do better. And anyway, but he's fascinated by like escalators and how far planes have come because he was a pilot, and and so both that exists in both films.
Yeah, they're both fish out of water. Fish out of water.
Right. This sort of awkwardness in certain ways, and it's very refreshing. So the chapter, though, is about transforming conflict. Wonder Woman is probably the only superhero that doesn't like guns. I think that's safe to say. Yeah. I don't think in either film she uses a gun.
No, she breaks them and crushes them.
She uses, or uses the...
Yeah. Her little deflector bands.
Right, right. And she has a lasso, and the argument that our authors are trying to make in this particular chapter is that, so the whole way to stop all of this, like this guy making people make wishes that then he can, I don't know, suck their health into his body or whatever the case may be, right? Like, is people who have made wishes have to renounce them. So that would mean like she would have to give up Steve, and Kristen Wiig's character, Barbara, it's Barbara, right?
Yeah.
She would, have to give up her, I don't know, she becomes like a cheetah character.
So
At
she's
the
auditioning
end,
for Thundercats.
the villain, you could argue, of the whole film, like, he isn't killed at the end. He doesn't die, and so...
Well, not only does he not die, he's not held accountable, right? He just gets off scot-free and, gets to go and have, like, kumbaya time with his little boy, right? Even though he's done all of this bad stuff. And
is that one of your problems with it?
Yeah, so I marked something in there.
Alright, here we go.
Yeah. So Gareth Higgins, right, is the one of the two authors who really loves Wonder Woman 1984. He really loves it.
He says it's the most spiritual superhero movie.
Yeah, most spiritually sophisticated, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think so. Anyway, so yeah, so he says, oh, gosh, okay. He says Wonder Woman 84 heals by telling the truth that if our deepest wishes are obstacles to the holy dreams of others, then renouncing those wishes would be a heroic act. Okay, so before I get to the next sentence, let me just talk about that sentence for a second. If our deepest wishes are obstacles to the holy dreams of others, I think he must be talking about God and God's plans for us, his wishes for us, but because they're afraid to actually use the G word in this book.
Which is weird.
That sentence, it just doesn't really make any sense in the context of the film. To forego selfishness and individualism in favor of acting for a world in which everyone has what they need is not a tragedy and perhaps not even a sacrifice. So to forego selfishness and individualism in favor of acting for a world in which everyone has what they need is not a... See, that sentence doesn't really make any sense either. But what he seems to be saying is that in the film, that if you forego your selfish desire, this thing that you want the most, that you wish for the most, okay, that if you forego that, then you're acting in favor of a world in which everyone has what they need, which is not what happens in this movie. Like, it's not, like I feel like I feel like he watches the movie and he's putting way more at the doorstep of this film than it's actually arguing, than it's saying. I feel like he is saying that this film is carrying a whole lot more weighty stuff, profound stuff on its shoulders than it actually is.
In the back of the book, they always list, for further viewing, right? Like other movies with these ideas that we're talking about in it. And I think what's most sad is for further viewing is Munich and...
Oh yeah, so the Munich Secrets and Lies, which I'm not sure I would, I love that movie. But Wolfwalkers.
Oh yes, Wolfwalkers. That is the one I was thinking of.
Wolfwalkers in Munich and Mass. Frequently, like I've seen Mass, and Mass is that's a really great film.
Is that the one with Jason Isaacs?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I do know what you're talking
about. And all three of those films are way better examples of transforming conflict.
Well, and I think Wolfwalkers. There was one sentence in there, and I don't know. I didn't mark it, so. I just felt like, what you're saying right here is exactly what Wolfwalkers is about. It is about forgiveness and love and understanding and, opening your mind to different ideas.
Yeah, well, it's Wolfwalkers is about realizing the folly in preconceptions, realizing the folly in stigma.
Yeah.
Wolfwalkers is fabulous.
It's such a great movie.
Yeah,
like, why? I'd so much rather be talking about that than Wonder Woman 1984. Even though I like the movie a little bit more, but I also was a little surprised at how strongly Gareth Higgins feels about this movie. And he grew up in Northern Ireland. And so he talks a lot in the book about, growing up in an environment of conflict. And all of this, just constant conflict. But then we get to Kathleen Norris's part of the book, and she spends almost all of her time talking about two movies that aren't even under for further viewing, I don't think.
No, they're not.
So I was like, did she just not want to talk about Wonder Woman? Did she feel a little like I do right now? Like, I'm not sure I really have anything insanely profound to say about Wonder Woman 1984, except, when you just take it as a superhero movie, like, it is enjoyable. One of the things that I felt like they should have touched on, when they all realize that they must renounce their wishes in order to stop this just chaos that is being caused by everybody getting their wishes, right? And so, yeah, like, when they realize this, Chris Pine's character, right, who totally loves Diana, he doesn't want to leave her, but he was like, you have to let me go. And he's, he's calling after her that he loves her, but he's also at the same time, like, saying, I'm already gone. I'm not even here anymore. And that's when Diana gets she's been losing her powers because of this other force or whatever.
The monkey's paw.
Yeah, anyway, and stop it. You're such a target. But yeah, so then as soon as he disappears, like, she is instantly, like, she says, I've renounced my wish, and she's instantly, like, running faster and that sort of thing. But, like, the selflessness of Chris Pine's character, like, isn't even discussed by the authors, and I thought that was a really poignant, beautiful moment in the film for him to say, like, I love you, and, like, I'm already gone.
Well, he's leading by example,
right?
And
right,
and that's the most beautiful thing. So in some sense, so she leads by example, but only after he does, and it's more powerful that he has because he's just an everyman.
Right, and he's forced her. He's basically forced her to renounce her wish because she could not. Yeah. She could not do it, and I thought that was just I just thought that was really powerful. But the authors don't even really talk about Chris Pine's character in this chapter.
So Gareth Higgins at one point writes, "What's most thrilling to me about Wonder Woman 1984, and the primary reason it's in this book, is that both what the heroine does to save the world and why the villain creates the need to save it are presented as being entirely understandable, entirely imitable, and entirely human." Now, I agree with that, right? I like that, but there are films that do a better job of that, yeah. Right? So one of the films that they don't even mention in their recommended viewing that I was telling Kelly I thought would be a really good example of this is Crimson Tide with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman. And so we have two guys in that film who ostensibly are on the same side on this nuclear submarine, and then they get an order to launch their nukes. And but that order is disrupted, right? So they are not struck, but there's an explosion from another strike by a submarine near them, and it disrupts their their cable or their antenna or whatever it is. It damages it, so they don't know if they're supposed to launch or if the launch has been recalled. But Gene Hackman's just all, we're gonna launch. Our previous order said to launch, so we're gonna launch. And Denzel Washington is like, no, we need to proceed with caution. There are redundancies here. If we don't launch, there are other subs that can launch.
Policies.
We have to find out what this said. Mm-hmm. And anyway, so they are coming at odds with each other, right? And the idea for me, I mean, of transforming conflict in that movie is that I think oftentimes in battle or, et cetera, like with police officers, I think emotions sort of, get in the driver's seat and things get out of hand. And what Crimson Tide argues is that when that happens, the only way to correct it, the only way to combat it, the only way to transform it is to be reasonable, to be clear-headed, to be rational, and to follow the process, trust the process. And and I think, man, what it's a better film than Wonder Woman 1984. There are so many issues that I have with Wonder Woman 1984 that have nothing to do with the themes. But Crimson Tide. Yeah, Crimson Tide is just it's a really well-made film, a really well-acted film, I mean, and this is acted well too for the most part. Gareth Higgins is like, oh, Pedro Pascal is so good. He's fantastic. I think he's actually not very good in this movie. I think it's one of his weakest performances.
Well, like, and they love the fact that that character's name is Max Lord.
Yeah,
and
which I think is super cheesy.
Yeah, it's
super
a bit
cheesy.
it's a bit corny, right? The guy who essentially, right? Like you could argue wants to be God, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
wants
that's
to
what
control
he's
the
maximum.
whole world.
He is total Lord. He is the most Lord.
Again, it's a rare superhero movie where, I mean, you could argue that Max Lord and Kristen Wiig's character are the villains in it, and they're still alive. They're still alive at the end of the film. She tries very hard not to kill anyone. Like, she's more about protecting people.
Yeah, but again, nobody. There are no consequences for the villains, right? There gotta be consequences.
There gotta be consequences.
Yes, gotta be consequences, man. They had just kidnapped him. If they had just kidnapped the gem, the living gem, and taken him to all the people who wanted peace, well then I mean, that would have all been, things would have turned out just fine.
Well, things do turn out just fine, but you said there's no...
Well, they turn out just fine because Wonder Woman gives this dumb speech. It's not dumb per se, it's just poorly written. They quote it in full in the book.
Yes,
and they talk about how great it is, and it needs to be recited by Congress. And,
and
churches.
I mean, definitely, like, some people could use to hear a speech like that, or could use...
Well, no, but it's not well. Some of the writing in this film is so bad, and that speech is not memorable at all.
Well, I wish...
Sorry.
So one of the things about Wonder Woman 1984 is at the beginning, it takes us back to Diana's childhood, and this game that she's in, like, it's like the Amazonian
Survivor
Olympics, right?
Yeah.
And so she's like, I'm ready, I'm gonna compete, even though, like, I'm like 10 years old and everybody else is an adult, like, I can do this, you know? And anyway, and I don't know, she falls off her horse or something.
So her chances for winning get screwed.
Right.
And she realizes some shortcut that she can take to still, finish and maybe even be the victor. But then her aunt, whoa, like, stops her and says, no, you cheated.
You don't get to finish. Yeah. Like, you cheated.
You can't,
and
I
kind of wanted at some point her to say that to somebody else. Like, we got all these wishes were granted because we cheated. We used this stone, this magical stone. I wanted her to reference. Like, it's implied, but it's not explicit. And I guess I wanted it to be more explicit. Yeah. Like we cheated, we cheated because we used this stone to get what we wanted more than anything else. And, I mean, Kristen Wiig's character. And Kristen Wiig is great in it, I think, anyway.
Yeah, so, instead of her, like, saying, I want to be more like Diana, so I'm going to take some etiquette classes, and I'm going to start going to the gym. And so it's a film about people getting things without having earned those things. Right. So in the beginning, don't even start on the beginning of the film, and why the whole opening sequence is dumb because we saw Wonder Woman at that age in the first film, and she was incapable of doing those things at that age in the first film. And so it shouldn't have showed her doing those things at that age in the second film. It's dumb. But anyway, it took a shortcut. It cheated.
Cheated. The film cheated. Anyway, so
watch Wolfwalkers.
Yes, if you can find Wolfwalkers, definitely
watch Munich.
So Munich,
in my opinion.
I know how much you love Munich.
I think Munich is no. Like, if we look at the turmoil that is the Middle East and all the stupidity in the Middle East, I feel like Munich. Our country
is part of that.
I understand.
Okay.
I feel like Munich is the wisest film about conflict in the Middle East that I've seen. So yeah, part of me feels like they didn't choose Munich because it would have been like, that's a little straying a little too close to the bone, man. That's a little too close to
Yeah, but
what's
like
going on right now.
Wolfwalkers wouldn't have been.
No, I don't. They chose Wonder Woman because the guy loves Wonder Woman. He loves Wonder Woman. She's awesome.
She is awesome.
So what's next month?
Okay, next month is Death and Beyond.
That's the theme.
It's very interesting that's not the last chapter. But anyway, and we will be reading Afterlife, which is a Japanese film that came out in 1998. We own it?
Yeah, it's in the
Okay.
Criterion Collection.
We own it, but we will look for it on streaming and let you know where you can find it.
Yeah. I will be watching
In the
it for the first time.
meantime, we would love to hear what you think of Wonder Woman 1984, what you think of Munich, what you think of Wolfwalkers, any of those films that have come up
Crimson Tide.
in the course of this film sort of review kind of thing. Anyway, so you can tell like we struggled a little bit to find the depths that the or at least one of the authors did in the film. Would you stop looking at the
Sorry,
wind?
man.
My God. Anyway, okay, so we want to hear from you in the comment section. As always, if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, you can leave an emoji. Ooh, maybe like a superhero emoji. I don't know what that would
Like
be.
a rope, like a lasso.
Like like a golden lasso, or you know, I'm trying to think what else.
cheetah.
A cheetah, a rock. Anyway, so surprise us with your emojis, or give this video a thumbs up. So thank you guys so much for watching Booktube. Remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and we'll be back soon with another video. Bye.